Lin Decode 8. Who's the one to blame? Blame the Chinaman for ruining your future. For not able to afford a house in the future. On the previous Lin Decode 7, I've talked about she's phishing information. Which is just a little bit of context on how girls use the phishing tools to find and tick the boxes to find a replacement boyfriend or potential one. Alright, let's get to the topic of Lin Decode number 8. So, especially in Australia, right, I'm only speaking those who are heavy, perhaps those who are heavy Chinese influence buying investing houses in their countries, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, parts of Canada, parts of America. And there's this trend how they're blaming the Chinese people for fucking their economy up, or buying up their houses, or etc. I can't speak for, what's going on for the other countries, but what I can speak for is Australia. You see, those who I blame Chinaman, alright, is when they go to auction, they fight for it. They completely overbid the price, overvalued the property prices as well, to outbid someone. It's pretty much, we're talking like a sense of gambling, playing poker, bluff. But the difference is they have cash. Whether they have 100% all cash, or perhaps they only have enough money to buy deposit. And what they do, they buy multiple houses, and some of the houses, or perhaps all the houses, are left empty, not being lived. And in the future, they decide to sell it, or perhaps to knock it down. Now, I'm not going to talk more information regards to that. I think that will be making another video regards to why they buy houses in Australia. But what I'm trying to say is, who's the one to be blamed? It's easy to blame Chinaman just buying all the houses and drive the property prices up and up to the point that the local peoples couldn't afford. But in reality there's negative gearing in Australia. So negative gearing is pretty much just like a loophole for those who purchase a property and the rental market and etc. couldn't pay back or cover their mortgage repayment. So they use the tax systems to leverage it out and makes it possible, and use the taxes go towards, which allows them to buy more houses because they just keep buying houses. And which you have that sort of mentality of buying more houses, and I just say before, maybe they leave it empty, or maybe they rent it out, and maybe they just overbid most of the people. I've been to auctions in the past, and I've seen how aggressive Chinese people can get in Pacific. But are they the ones who truly to be blamed? Because negative gearing, according to the property buyers statistics in Australia, I can't probably RBA or property.com.au, 50% or less than 50% is foreign buyers, 50% is local. So obviously local people, and as well foreign investors, which majority of the people may say is only China, who drive the market up. And they start to realize, they start to be a lot more smarter. Instead of having one house, they should buy multiple of them and start investing. Just like what they did with the Italians, the Greeks, the Jews, before the Asian migrant wave came in. And that's what the Middle Eastern. So this has already happened in the past. But now it's gone to the point that nobody could afford to buy a house. Or perhaps could afford to have a suitable rental property. Everything has gone competitive. And that's why I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, we're blaming the Chinese people, for everything. And I'm saying back in my head, it's a free market. Anyone can come to us, to Australia. It's not my fault that our government has introduced a law for especially those millionaires in China, as long as they brought a couple of million in Australia, they have immediate permanent residency status without any exam or any tests. So obviously, you guys may know China has one of the largest population in the world. God knows how many millionaires or billionaires in there. Let's just say millionaires. Who fly around the world to buy property, sell it, bring the money back to the hometown. But now locals are starting to do it. Because the banks are starting to realize, damn, Chinese is bringing straight cash, buying all this property. Gosh, the banks are not making money. And as well, we have the central banks with America keep printing money, low interest rate on money, and make it a lot more competitive. Now, obviously, the bank sees Chinese as a threat because they bring in straight cash. How do banks make money if they bring in straight cash, paying off the house on the spot? Right? And of course, banks join in and say, we're allowed to have foreign borrowers to borrow from, local banks in Australia. In the recent years, that's been abolished. Pretty much has closed the door. So now, foreign investors will need to have a large lump sum of deposit in order to purchase the property. Usually it's 20%. But what I'm trying to say here in this video is saying that I am sick and tired of people saying Chinese is the one to be blamed. Well, people who lives and experienced before me, who has experienced 1987 Australia crash, also the same year when we lost a AAA rating. And who would have thought the housing interest rate would just rise skyrocketed? Australia was going through a crash. It's funny how Japanese people who are buying loads of houses up in Gold Coast or Queensland, and they went bust. And all I can say is a trend. And I'm sick and tired of people saying blaming Chinese this and that for not getting a house. At the end of the day, they use competitive. They find it cheap in Australia. And I mentioned to you guys, with a millionaire visa, with an instant PR, who's the one to be blamed? Oh, by the way, Bob Hawke was still elected during the 1987. He's the one who first introduced privatisation and as well, selling off state-owned companies and as well introducing negative gearing. Negative gearing, a lot of tax accountants have to go through the loophole, finding ways to loophole and make the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. This is where all the lefty studies education always hating the bourgeoisie model. Rich gets richer because of the negative gearing. Now I quite understand why they hate it. But at the same time, are Chinese the one to be blamed? All I can say is partial. I can't say it completely. And I'm sick and tired of people saying China is the one to be blamed.